Good morning, and welcome to another installment of History at Home. My name is Jillian, and I'm on the creative team at the Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum. Though we are still closed due to the COVID-19 crisis, we are happy to continue to bring history to you right from the comfort of our own homes. Now today, we're talking about another really important question that we often get at the Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum. And that is, what's the deal with this tax on tea? One of the most popular myths surrounding the event of the Boston Tea Party is the idea that the colonists were fighting against taxation as a whole. Well, I'm here to tell you that it really wasn't that simple. Now, the tax on tea is one of those important points of understanding why the Boston Tea Party happened in the first place. This question does have a bit of a complicated answer, so let's break it down. I'm going to tell you about the tax on tea, where it came from, how it differs from the Tea Act, and how both affected the sale of tea in the 18th century. Let's get started. First, I think we need to establish the difference between the tax on tea and the Tea Act. They sound similar, but they're actually not the same thing. The tax on tea actually started 5 years before the Tea Act came into being. And the tea tax comes from the Townshend Acts of 1767. One of the laws under the Townshend Acts placed taxes on certain commodities, such as lead, glass, and types of paper. Now, these acts were placed on the colonies by one of the governing bodies of Great Britain, known as Parliament. And as the North American colonies are still a part of Great Britain, Parliament technically still has governing powers over them. Now, Parliament wanted to continue to raise money for expenses that had been incurred during the French and Indian War, part of which was fought on North American soil. However, Parliament also wanted to show the North American colonies that they still had a right to tax them. Tea was another item that was taxed under the Townshend Acts at 3 pennies per pound in weight. Now, after many boycotts of British goods, and a few riotous protests that ended in a bit of destruction, the Townshend Acts were actually repealed in 1770. Huzzah! Well, except for one of the taxes. You guessed it, the tax on tea. The Tea Act was passed by Parliament on May 10th of 1773. In the early spring before the Boston Tea Party happened. Now, this law was created to help save the British company, the United East India Company. Parliament wanted to make sure that the company did not go bankrupt, as this would cause great turmoil for the British Treasury. Now, the Tea Act stated several things. Number 1, it maintains the 3 penny per pound tea tax from the Townshend Acts. Number 2, it allows the United East India Company to ship their tea directly to North America. Normally, they would pay an import duty of 1 shilling per pound, which is equivalent to about 12 pennies per pound. The East India Company, under the Tea Act, would be given back their 1 shilling per pound for all the tea that they shipped to North America. This is where we get the idea of duty-free tea. And number 3, it creates the consignment. Colonial merchants could apply to be wholesalers of the East India Company tea in North America. Consignees were chosen from Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and South Carolina. It's important to note that in order for the colonies to purchase any tea through legal means, they have to go through Great Britain. Sure, they certainly can buy tea from France or the Netherlands or Spain. However, it's going to cost a fortune in import duties thanks to the British Navigation Acts. These were put into place in 1651 in order to help regulate trade between Great Britain and her North American colonies. Basically, Great Britain wanted to make sure that their money was going right back into the British Treasury. Now, this did lead to smuggling, which is highly illegal, and also, now that I think about it, an entirely different video topic. So let's just stick to legal means of trade for now. Let's choose a popular Boston merchant. How about John Hancock? Now, he would send a representative from his company to sail to London. In London, they'd go to the London tea auction, where they would then bid on crates of tea that had been shipped to London by the United East India Company. Each crate of tea has a £4 sterling per crate fee on top of what the auction price is. Hancock's representative would then load the tea onto a ship bound for Boston. When they reach Boston's port, John Hancock will pay the tea tax of 3 pennies per pound before unloading the tea into his warehouses. Once he receives the tea, he will then have to upsell the tea at a higher price in order to defray these added costs. Now, the other option would be to apply to be an East India Company consignee, who will work on behalf of the company to sell tea in North America. Now, John Hancock could apply to be an East India Company consignee, but they are more likely to choose people who are perceived as being loyal to the British Crown. Since we know that John Hancock has ties to the Sons of Liberty and their rebellious actions, it's more likely that he won't be chosen. Now, Boston will end up with 7 tea consignees who are approved by the East India Company. Thomas Jr. and Elijah Hutchinson, Richard Clark and his 2 sons, Jonathan and Isaac Clark, Joshua Winslow, and Benjamin Fanuel. These men all have loyalist ties. The Hutchinson boys just so happen to be Governor Hutchinson's sons. Now, to get their tea, they will not go through the same process as John Hancock, as they do not need to go to London to go to the London tea auctions. Instead, the East India Company can send their tea to the consignees directly, as they have signed a contract with the East India Company. This contract tells the consignees exactly what price they need to sell the tea at, and includes an 8% commission for each of the tea consignees. Now, this price also includes the factored in tea tax. Once the tea reaches North America, that's where the consignees will pay for that tea tax, but again, it's already contracted in their price. So, the East India Company consignees can sell directly to consumers, and they don't have to upsell their tea like John Hancock would. They don't have any added costs. Across the board, purchasing East India Company tea will be cheaper for consumers. Lower costs for the consignees means lower prices for the consumers. Huzzah! The East India Company wins as well. By shipping tea via the consignees, they have made their product cheaper than any alternative on the market, including smuggled tea, which creates a monopoly on the sale of tea for the East India Company and a direct trade route to North America for them. Huzzah? Well, merchants who go to England to buy tea, like John Hancock, will also be selling cheaper tea too, but the price will pale in comparison to that of the East India Company. By the time the tea makes its way to retailers in America, it will be outpriced by the consignees. Thus, any business other than that of the consignees will likely suffer. So you see, it was actually less about the tea tax itself and more about the overreaching power of Great Britain and Parliament. Now, I know this was a lot of information to break down, but I hope you have a better understanding of what the tea tax is and how it differed from the Tea Act. Now, if you have any questions or you have any suggestions for what you want to hear about, please feel free to comment below or reach out to us on any of our social media platforms. Thank you again for joining us for another installment of History at Home. And if you want more information, please feel free to check out our website at www.bostonteapartyship.com. Take care and stay safe out there. Huzzah!